Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K.
Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for stopping by to check out my latest video. And today I'm just continuing to work on my idea journal, and I'm still kind of playing around with pocket ideas. I have so many in my head right now that I have lots of ideas, and I've already cut up lots of pieces that I think will make great pockets. And we'll just see how far I get. Again, I don't want to make the videos too long. But I have some spaces still on this sheet, so I'm going to do a couple more pockets. And again, my idea is to just do pages, and then when I have as many ideas as I think I can come up with for pockets, then I'll go ahead and sew them together and make a signature out of them. And so this one is kind of a double pocket today, this first one with a side opening. And so I do have two pieces of paper that fit onto my page, and I did do a little circle punch right here, a little notch. That's just my preference on that. And you could use, I think, one whole sheet if you wanted to, and then just glue down the middle so that you have two separate pockets. But I just happen to have, I really like this paper, and I happen to have two smaller ones that I cut down to size. And then I think on this one, I am just going to break it up a little bit just to make it look like it's possibly two separate pockets by just gluing down the little piece of scrap little cotton trim that I had in my stash. But I think you could do this one easily with one sheet of paper that's the same size as your base layer, and putting a piece of glue down the middle and then having notches, if that's what you want, on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these ones down, and we'll just keep on moving along. Hopefully everyone's doing well. I don't really have too much to report. I guess just been busy working, so not much, too exciting. Just doing different wildlife surveys and looking for different animal species, and helping my husband when I can with some of the, he's a grassland specialist, so he looks at like what plants and grasses are growing. And so usually I don't know all of my grasses as well as he does, but I do kind of have an idea of maybe what's different or what shouldn't be out there. So if I'm going along with him, just helping with some of that stuff, because sometimes we do multiple things. We're out looking at wildlife, but he's also out looking at grasses and stuff. So, but I usually have a pretty good idea of, stuff that I normally don't see out there when I'm out walking with him, just so then I point it out so he can take note of it, because we have to, when we're looking at new areas where the coal mines might be working on in the future, we sometimes have to survey everything, how the land's used, what's there, etc. So we have to just look at the different species, and we literally have to write down every type of grass species, every type of plant that we see. And we do this over multiple years, so because some years you see different stuff based on if it's a wetter year or a drier year, different plant species like to grow. So it's kind of fun. We just get to walk around, which I enjoy doing, and being out in nature. So that's one of the things we're doing. And then this year we're also looking kind of specifically for a specific bumblebee that's on the possible endangered species list or whatever that we've been given. So it's probably not likely anywhere where we're working, but we still have to look at it. So that means stopping and looking at, any bee that we see. And then, of course, if we possibly see it, then they'll probably pull in somebody that's a better expert with bees than us. But we just go out and record what we see. And we've done that before in the past for certain butterflies too that have been on the list, and still are on the list, I guess. Like we look for the monarch butterfly. That's one that I think a lot of people are pretty familiar with, and maybe the regal fritillary too. And then there's a particular skipper butterfly that we also look for too, that really isn't in the areas that we're at. It's the Dakota skipper, but we still stop and look if we see skipper butterflies flying around just to see which one it is. All right, so I think that one's pretty good. And again, if this one were the pot were to be used, you'd stick your journal card or your tag, you'd make it to fit inside. This one's a little short. Again, I'm not filling my pockets. This is just a pocket idea journal that I'm working on. So I've just chosen not to add tags and stuff unless, just to keep the bulk down on the journal, unless I want to. Then I'll go back in and do it. But this one's just for a reference journal. And then I'm just calling this one a double pocket side opening. I'm not very good at calling or what I should name things. So, I mean, if you guys are following along and doing it yourselves, and you can go ahead and name them whatever you want. I know sometimes I've seen stuff and everybody calls them something different. So, so I'm just going to call that one a double pocket side opening. Double pockets, maybe. And again, you know, you can add variations on top of this. You could add another pocket or two on each of these. Or this one, instead of, I glued this down flat, but I could have made this easily into a belly band, and then I would have had a belly band. Or I could have put a pocket in the middle, you know. And then I also wanted to show you guys, I know one of the other times we made these, you know, upper and lower triangle pockets. Well, I came across some more triangle scraps when I've been cutting out stuff for future episodes of this little video series, but I just wanted to show you that you can always take stuff a step further. Like I could take this little triangle pocket and glue it up here, and then I even have another one, you know, I could have glued this one down here. And so I think I am just going to glue one of these down just to remind me while I'm on this page. And since I had some scrap papers, I always like to try to use my scraps whenever I can on things, you know. So far, here's the scraps I've generated, and when I can use them on, you know, any of the things I'm working on, I'm going to be doing that. And again, if anybody's wondering, just the paper that I'm using in this journal that I'm working on is, you know, the bases, a lot of them are tea dyed. I've tea dyed all the papers, and I've also just using some old Hobby Lobby paper pads, and I tried to kind of pick out vintage looking ones that maybe had a little bit of pink in it, at least to start off with, and that was kind of what I was going with. So they're all from lots of different random Hobby Lobby paper pads. And again, like if I wanted to here, I could have glued this one down here, and then I have a triangle pocket on top of this one. I'm not going to do that. But just so you guys know, when you're working on, if you're really new to junk journal making, that you start seeing when you look at stuff, you can definitely mix and match your different like pockets and tuck spots and belly bands onto things that you're working on. So again, I am going to eventually get to belly bands and tuck spots. But for right now, I think I'm just going to focus on pockets until I think I've exhausted the topic. You know, I might throw in a couple other sheets if I'm doing something, and I think it also would apply to something else. But this one was just inspired by some of those scraps, you know, that I showed you guys, and I'm just going to call this just another version of a double pocket. There's all sorts of double pockets out there, but I'm thinking I could glue this one down, and then I had this scrap right here, and what I liked is it kind of left this spot open here to look at the pretty bird, and I was going to make it into a double pocket. So I was thinking I could do a pocket here, and depending upon how I glued it, either I could have a top opening pocket or a side opening pocket. I think I'm going to do the side. And then, so with that in mind, just to remind me that it's a side pocket, I am just going to take one of my little punches here and just make a little notch. And again, if you don't have a punch and you need to make a notch, like in the US, I would take a quarter and just trace around half the quarter and then cut it out. I'm sure there's in your country, if you're from a different country, you could definitely just use some sort of coin and do the same thing. Or even take like a small thing, like I could take like this glue stick and then just trace around it, and that would give me a nice notch too if I wanted to do that. So you don't have to have the the punch, the circle punch to make a notch. If you don't own one, you can definitely use something else to make something. Maybe I'll show you that on whatever pocket I make next. I'll try and see if we can just trace around that little glue stick that I have to make a notch, just to show those of you who are new at junk journaling how to do that. So this one, since I want it to be a side tuck, I'm going to glue down around these 3 edges on the back. So usually when I glue on pockets, I try to hold my finger on the side that I don't want glue. That kind of reminds me where not to put the glue. And I'm just using today, for the most part, I'm just going to be using tacky glue and then maybe the glue stick for a few things. Usually tacky glue is kind of my go-to when it comes to junk journals. I know a lot of people in the US use the Art Institute or the Art Glitter Glue. And that's very similar, I think. It might be just a little bit more watery than the tacky glue, but I just choose to use the tacky glue because it's cheaper and it's readily available where I don't have any. I'm in a small town, and it's hard enough as it is to find tacky glue. So I just stick with what I have. So I'm just trying to decide where I want. I'll probably just put it on the name of the pocket here, where I want to name this. And I've just been naming everything, if this is just your first time watching. And I've just been stamping this particular stamp on kind of manila colored paper that I picked up at the thrift store. Here's what it looks like. I got a whole huge pack of this for like 50 cents. And this one is from a company called Simply Stamped. And it's an older one looking at the date, so I don't know if you can still buy it or not. But I think there's enough companies out there that have a similar like label looking stamp that you could use. Or you could just cut out a piece of paper and label it too, or write directly on your page. So I think I've done everything on this one, so I'm going to add that to my pile. And we're still doing good on time, so I'm going to keep on moving on. On this one, we had already done the double triangle pocket again, which, you know, here and here. And I have some more ideas for this one. So I was just, since we were talking about double pockets, I just figured I would do another version of a double pocket just to show you that there's, you know, all sorts of ideas out there. So, again, this one was somewhat inspired by, you know, I had this scrap piece of paper, so I'm like, well, somewhere I need to make a double pocket with that. And so this one, I'm thinking I'm going to glue this piece down, and usually if I have a bigger piece, I like to have my openings either at the top or the side, the outside of your page, because if you have all your pages in your journal, it's going to be really tough to get something in and out if this is your fold in your journal. So I usually choose this side. And so I did tell you guys I would show you how to do a little notch real quick. So I'm just going to turn it around on the back side. And you guys, this is so easy. And again, it doesn't matter where you put it, but you just kind of trace around something that's round. Usually I like to use a quarter, but I don't happen to have one on me right now. And we'll just take a scissors then, so you can kind of see it's not perfect. And I just kind of use that as a rough guide. This one might be a little bit deeper than I normally do. And we have a little notch, so it's that easy. And then another thing that I'm not doing it now, but sometimes I do on my actual journals, is if I have like little circles like this left over from like when I punched out that other one on the other page, which I'm not quite sure where it is on my desk, but you can glue this down to the actual page and there will be a tab there. Usually I like to do a coordinating color, so like here I would glue the white side down, and then it's like that, just as a little decorative element that's easy to add. So again, this one I want to open on this side, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this. Yeah, this was one of my favorite sheets in this paper pad. Like I said, I can't remember which one it came from. It was a Hobby Lobby one. And this one's so pretty because it's vintage and a little bit shabby. So I've used it before. I think these Hobby Lobby paper pads have like 3 or 4 of the same sheet in them. And, well, oops. Well, here I just told you guys what I wanted and I glued it on the wrong page. It felt like it was wrong. I'm going to let that dry because I just screwed up. I'm going to let the glue dry on this side. Again, this is just an idea journal, so it's not the end of the world that I messed up. I'm just going to wipe the glue down. And I might have to come up with a different idea than what I was going to do on that side. So let's try this again. Hopefully you guys were telling me to be careful that I was on the wrong thing. That's embarrassing, but I'll leave it in. I won't edit it out so you guys can see that even those of us that have been making journals for a long time make mistakes. All right, so we'll try this again. And again, I didn't want it there. If I would have done it on the outside, I would have been fine, but I didn't want my pocket so that I had to grab whatever I put it on it. That would have been on the inside. All right. So away from the fold line. So now I'm going to put this on here as a double pocket. And you can make a choice. I mean, any size scrap paper works good. And if you wanted to, you could make this into a belly band too, where you would just glue at the top and the bottom and stick something. But since this is my pocket journal, I'm going to just leave this as a pocket. And I could stagger it down or up here, but I think I'm going to stagger it down. And again, just for sake of convenience, I just find the punching with a hole punch is easier. And so again, I'm going to glue on the 3 sides. And other variations is you could like corner around your edges, you could ink your edges if you wanted to. And again, this is just for my idea journal, so I'm not going to all the steps that I normally do. I normally ink all my edges, and I normally would add, you know, some more decorations onto these pages, and most likely lace. But I'm getting through a lot more on camera when I don't do the extra decorating. All right, so that one's done. Again, that's just another version of a double pocket. And these ones, like this one back here, I definitely would probably put more of a journal card that fits in there. This one you could do some smaller tags that stick out this way, or you could do a really small journal card or something to write on going this way. But I like how that turned out. And so I know I just talked about belly bands, so I thought, well, maybe we'd put some belly bands in with a pocket. And so one of the sheets of paper that I had cut out, you know, because I cut out some main pages, and then usually I just start making, you know, tuck spots and ephemera and different pockets based on my scraps after I start cutting papers. And so I had this one right here, and so I did cut it down so that it was the length of my page, but you could go shorter if you wanted to. And this one I did choose, so you can see I did do a notch here. And the only reason why I wanted to do that notch is so that I could remember that it was a pocket, but this is going to be like a belly band, so I'm not going to glue this down, but if you wanted to make it into a pocket instead of a belly band, you could do that. But I want to make this into a belly band. Again, just showing myself in my idea journal that I can do multiple things, you know, multiple techniques. So a belly band and a pocket. So for belly bands, usually you just glue down on 2 sides. And then the reason is because you can stick something this way through it. And because I wanted to make it into a pocket, again, this one's going to fold up. Sometimes you could just use that as a journaling spot if you want. I've done that technique quite a bit. But because I want to make it into a pocket, I'm going to put glue here and glue right here. And I could have done this step before I glued it down as the belly band. It doesn't really matter which order you do it. So now I have a pocket right here that I can stick something in, but I also have a belly band that I can stick something in. And just because I had, again, more scraps, I think it would be fun to add another small pocket on this one. And I'm kind of feeling in the mood to just do a little bit of corner rounding on just the bottom pieces of this one. So let's just take out my little corner chomper here. And again, I'm just going to put a little notch in here just so it looks a little bit more like a pocket, or it reminds me it's a pocket, since I'm not sticking stuff in my pockets in this journal. And I'm going to stick it here. And if I wanted to, I could put another one up there. I could have orientated it this way so the pocket was on top. So again, just be thinking when you're gluing things that you can change things up a little bit. And I'm just calling this a vertical belly band with 2 pockets because there's a pocket here and a pocket here. Is what I'm calling this one. And it looks like I've been going for about 20 minutes. So I think I have time to do one more. And so let's just do something on the back side. So again, it's kind of this exact same of what we just did. A belly band, but I decided to, with a pocket, but I decided to make it horizontal. And I'm going to make this one into a pocket. So let's go ahead and do that. Kind of the same. Again, it's a sheet of paper. And it's the same length, or the width. And then I folded it in half. And I put a notch in it. And again, since I'm making it in a belly band, I just want to put glue on 2 spots. And the only reason why I'm not really showing all the cutting and everything on the video is I just wanted to be able to show you guys as many ideas as I could in a short amount of time. And again, this is a belly band, so I can stick this behind there. And since I want to make it into a pocket, I'm just going to put a little glue. And again, a variation of this, if you don't want the pocket, is you could just leave it. Usually I would flip it the other way, so then you'd flip it up, that you'd have a little, you know, hidden writing spot in there. Again, that's, I think I talked about it on the other page, but that's something I do quite a bit. And so on this one, since I added a pocket on the last one, this one seemed a little bit too short. I mean, I very easily could add a pocket, but again, I just want to use up some of those scraps. And so I had just a paper strip. So I thought this one, maybe I'll make it into like a double belly band with a pocket. So I'm just going to put glue just on the 2 edges. And then, so now this one then would have, so it has the belly band, it has a pocket, and it has another belly band. So I would put a bigger item in the back, and then maybe put a couple smaller tags. And let me see, I do have like a small tag thing sitting here, or more tags. You know, these obviously don't match. These are just, sometimes when I get stuff in Happy Mail, or ones that I choose not to use in journals, I'll stick them in here. I don't know if I have any shorter ones that, you know, so then one would fit in here. You know, this one would be definitely better with a taller one. Let's just pretend this is a taller one. We'll make it look like that. And then, so then I would need a shorter one for in the belly band. So here'd be one that you could stick in the belly band. If you wanted to stick tags, you could stick something else in there too. Like here's a circle, I could stick that in if I wanted to. All right, so I guess the only thing I have left on this one is I'm just going to put my little label on here. And so I'm just calling this one a double belly band with a pocket. But again, you could have put another pocket on it, or, and this one's more of a horizontal one, where this one was a vertical belly band. So I think we did pretty good today. We got, you know, we did 1, 2, 3, 4, we got 5 done. While I was jibber jabbering, as my husband likes to say. All right, so that's everything for today. And again, I just wanted to thank everybody so much for watching. And hopefully I will see you guys back for another episode in this series. So until then, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day and happy crafting.